We only got 2 matches left, so we are gonna get into the next one here in a few moments, which is gonna be Clem taking on Probe, which is exciting because I feel like Clem's shown us some cool stuff today, but he's definitely stumbled against some of the stronger players, but specifically against the infernal players of Alaza and Kelazur. He looked pretty good against Skillous earlier on, so we'll see how he looks against this other Vanguard player coming up in this next match.
All right. Well, I gotta go with Probe, of course, but I'm eager to see what Clem's multitasking can do. Bottom left, it is going to be Probe. Top right is Clem.
Yeah, Clem's multitasking early in the game so far has been kind of the real highlight, right? And then I think the real thing that I noticed from him earlier was just some of his transitions just didn't seem to necessarily be there. Sometimes not getting expansions maybe as soon as he could have done. A couple things that he could have been a little bit better.
I also was wondering if this was perhaps some time given to Clem to actually practice some things. 'Cause I feel like Clem, very much, you can see that he's talked to people, that his style of play matches up with the race that he chose, which is also really good. And that he has been, at times, playing Stormgate a lot, actually, depending on what build. And it was just the most recent one that he wasn't able to give a lot of time to Katowice. So you like the foundations are almost there, basically, and if you can shore him up, then we know that he can be excellent. And certainly one of the best things he can do is perfect the dog opener, where it really highlights his multitasking and micro. That's what he's doing against Probe right now.
Yeah, we got some doggos out on the map looking for their promotions. And let's just have a tap building on this low ground. There was Bobs being kept at work here. As Probe activates the extra vision on the doggo to just see the other doggos, just know what he's running into at any point in time. Just information obviously pretty critical. And as Clem is setting up with a lot of doggos on the map, and we'll see what resource camps or other camps he might try and aim for in the near future. He starts to go after this one. This little spider can deal some damage back to those dogs.
Spider sounds.
I don't know, man. Spiders are so unmenacing when it comes to making sound effects.
Only so much you can do, man. But yes, this means that Clem opened up with a dog-centric opener, and Probe was able to hold with a command center. Command post first. And that doesn't bode very well. I mean, we talked about Clem's dog opener versus Infernal and how like it seemed to be doing a decent amount of damage, but then the rest of that game really went poorly for Clem. And now it's like the only thing that Clem's opener has done is given him the map control to take down some resource camps, which I'm going to go ahead and guess does not make up for the fact that Probe is almost saturated on 2 bases already.
No, I mean, it just feels like this was the issue earlier as well, where it's like, you need to get some kills out of these dogs, otherwise your later expansion just doesn't really kind of give you the value, right? So...
Must be.
Yeah.
I love that it repairs up the units.
Yeah. Cute. I honestly just love this, like, these little doggos. Again, I mean, throw back to the start of our cast. Just getting their little pets. They're getting their head scratches. They feel good again.
They feel great. Little robo dogs. Bet the Bobs also get, like, a nice morale boost. Like, you might have to die, but you get to pet a dog.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's fair. Who doesn't win out from petting the doggos?
I don't know. The natural really seems like it's under lock and key here, but the main base might be more of a target. Exactly what Clem's thinking. Don't really want to go after a Lancer. Dogs just don't do that much damage, but there is also a turret in the main, so the best he can do is attack the Therium workers, which Probe will have to delay that mining. That's a good surround. How many doggos does it take to kill a Lancer?
Yeah.
More than 5.
More than 5. Number 6 going really getting involved. We're gonna get there. It just took a little while.
Okay.
We have lost a doggo.
Yeah,
So
alright,
we
5.
got I was worried he was gonna pull the doggos back and then the Lancer gets free, right? And then you don't really get the cleanup. But gets it done. These dogs will control their way around the base for a little bit. Obviously, the awkward part of just having melee here. We overcharge to help, and dogs are gonna eventually decide this is just time to get away.
At a certain point, I wonder if that's just intimidation tactics. The hell.
How he's just like, I see everything. Woo!
It was because he did it once and then he did it twice, but I mean, seeing where units might be coming in from directional wise, and then maybe there is some hidden technology. We really haven't seen so much of that though, and if we did, I mean, I guess we're not smart enough to pick up on it, but hidden technology or hidden composition changes. Certainly not earlier on, I suppose. So the dogs howling, yeah, it gives them full information, but I really like using them later on just as scouts. Put them on patrol in the main attack ways, and then occasionally go for a howl, which we know Clem has tons of extra APM to use, so he could do that. I mean, once they've at least taken advantage of the level 1 creep camps, and then, yeah, he could do that.
Yeah. I'll signal a retreat here. There's a lot more Lancers in the center, though. I'm not sure this is one Clem wants to stick around to try and find something for. With the extra doggos, he will get us around on this Lancer. It will fight back. As we move in and out, trying to keep the hurt doggos at the back. Again, it's slow progress, but we will get there in the end. We will grab this kill, but the rest of Probe's army's gone to the other side. No, one doggo stayed around too long. It re-engaged in when it should have stayed out of the fight.
It's just so much effort for so little. You killed one Lancer. He does have, fortunately, Hornets coming through, and Lancers do not shoot up, and even though they could outlast the Hornet damage for quite some time, with the Bobs being able to be overcharged as well, it really would not be worth it to commit. So the Hornets will save the day. That's all good and great, and the dogs will continue trying to harass, which is definitely a benefit of them. But Probe should be adapting now to the surprise Hornet, because as much as they just said, like, oh, the scouting hasn't seemed to be the biggest issue as far as technology, well, this was absolutely a surprise. Probe did not realize the Hornets were already on the way.
Yeah, he was not aware at all, as you're going to see the move down the bottom side, and obviously there's mobility jumping between these bases, lots of ledges and stuff, right? So air units can really utilize that well. Unfortunately, a turret in this main base is going to steal up the majority of the Bobs being in trouble, just the ones finding the same idea, taking some damage. I'm just going to turn back onto that. Oh, they
Hornet.
actually, huh?
I-
It's gone wrong.
Yeah, I think he underestimated how many Exos there actually were.
Yeah.
I feel like that's got to be what it was.
Showed up out of nowhere in the end as well, right? Like, they just suddenly, like, there's just a bunch of them. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, the dogs are still taking care of the resource camps in the middle, which sounds really good, especially as Clem also gets a expansion up himself. I guess they're both going to kind of time it out equally with the amount of Bobs working, so there's that. But he does definitely have the resource camps, but is that the added bonus that's going to make up for what is now looking like an inferior composition? The Hornets literally won because they shot down, Lancers didn't shoot up, but now Exos are involved, so it's Doggo Hornet versus Lancer Exo. I feel like Lancer Exo wins. We'll see. That's only 4 Exos, actually. Maybe not.
Dognets versus Lansos.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was going to say. Don't call me out.
Yeah, this is just not enough. Especially the Lancers just do not take the damage quickly enough off the Hornets, right? So they just get so much
Yeah.
damage just whack away. Eventually they get cleaned up, but what devastating damage can they do before then? There's just nothing at all here. So this entire mineral line is getting wiped, and Clem isn't a world drop.
Yeah, he's pretty much dead. Counterattack won't come swiftly enough to do a tremendous amount of damage, especially because Probe still has turrets back at home. And it seems like Clem's kind of, almost cute build order. The cute strategy here just simply not worked out. He is still on 3 bases. That 3rd base did finish. That's awesome. But then Probe is not only with a finished 3rd base, but also working off of it. Again, he has the turrets in case the mass Hornets actually became a problem. I think he's actually a little concerned building extras. But maybe also just building habitats, actually. But the point is, I think he'll be fine against the...
Yeah, I think he's going to be all right here as Probe. Just in a good position in general. The Hornet numbers are going up, but the more Exos you get, the easier this is going to be. And we saw how quickly they can just go down, right? So it's about that kind of critical mass. If you got enough, just shoot them down quickly. It ain't going to matter too much. Knock the little deer down over here, and the Hornets try and come in. But you also got that turret coverage. Just got a couple shots off at the start of all of this. That definitely goes a long way to helping.
I wonder if there's a world where the Hornets can be obnoxious enough to give Clem the time to evolve his own composition. The funny thing is that I feel like if Clem was also playing the same style as Probe, so opening up with Lancers into Exos and then Medtech, so kind of the basic Vanguard style, I feel like he would be so good with it. It's just that it does seem like he feels a need to do something a little bit different. Certainly as far as the openers go, he may not have as crisp of a build order.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, right? I feel like he's like, hey, maybe if I can do these units, like, my strength lies in my micro a lot of the time, right? So if I can just utilize that great micro with some other units, maybe I can get enough of an edge, but it's just not quite enough, right? It's not quite there, so It's definitely one of those things, right? It feels like, yes, we saw some of the super aggressive Infernal Infernal games where it does just end early. Maybe more so off the builder than the control. But it does feel like it's difficult to kind of just be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and out-micro you in these kind of games. So at least what we've seen so far, maybe it's just a case of knowledge and figuring out how you really out-micro while successfully taking the lead. But that'll be the kind of interesting thing to see kind of developing as Stormgate sees more play, and more players kind of figuring out more things.
Yep. Well, Top Bar Scouts is seeing Clem's expansion. He could have killed it, I suppose, but he get in 4th base. And they are both expanding to the 4th bases. Clem got there a little bit faster. But Probe's army, mostly Exos at this point. Those medtechs added on, finding both the vision as well as resource camps. Level 3, but that's clearly enough army. Ooh, okay, the turrets aren't done. Not even the habitats to begin with are done. So this is a very well-timed Hornet hit squad attacking into Probe's 4th base. Master Parry not going to be good enough. Not going to have any turrets to support. The medtech going to take the brunt of the damage. Well, they're just going to go down, actually. Go, run, lady, run!
Yeah, get out of there while you can is Probe. Yeah, have to pull pretty much everything over you to deal with this. So it's giving Clem time, right? And time means chances, opportunities, maybe a way back into this game. Although now Probe is back onto the map. I'm not sure what Clem's going to do this time around. A necessary turn him around again. Gonna grab the vision camp here as well. More information from Probe. Less room you can move around with those Hornets without them being kind of spotted. So gives Probe that little heads up if attacks come from this direction in the future.
Yeah, very important when Hornet run-bys are kind of Clem's strategy. As for now, I believe he is building up his own Lancer Exo Medtech army. At least I'd love to believe it. South side to the right might be a little more vulnerable, but yeah, when the turrets are actually done, the Hornets obviously are a lot less effective. That's just why the left side was vulnerable. They weren't done yet. And now it is actually Probe. I thought actually going to move into the base. He could. He's missing a bit of a spotter on Clem's actual army, which might be giving him some hesitation, but now he's going to go ahead and get into that high ground, get on top of Clem's 3rd base. And Clem is not prepared for that.
No, he's really not. I feel like this is the point where Clem trying to transition through into these ground units. It's like, well, this is where we figure out if everything you invest into before this point was enough, because if it was enough, you would have slowed Probe's production down enough to have more stuff yourself by now. And that is quite clearly not the case. And this army as well, remember, anytime you win a favorable fight, the Vanguard units get that veterancy. So not only do you kind of get to win a fight, you get to kind of, win there, but your veterancy means that these units are even better for the next fight that comes along. So it's very important to not give Probe advantageous positions as those Exos go crazy up on those Hornets, and they are non-existent now.
Yeah, the upgrade there from the medtech just makes them look like they suddenly have jetpacks, actually.
It's wild how fast they move.
It is actually really startling because it doesn't seem like a speed boost so much as it's just a jump. But anyway, that did help take down the Hornets, which weren't really a problem anyway. The turrets were taking care of them. Clem not only unable to do the damage he needed with his opening strategy, but then also took so much damage. So even if he was, on par economically with his opponent, there would have been the question of, do you have enough units? But then add on top is a big loss of Bob's earlier on. Yeah, it just makes sense that this would be a numbers game. And there's not too much to do here in terms of the numbers games. It's kind of like a roach versus roach situation. It is just numbers. No Ravagers, no Spellcasters, Medics, hardly counting. Both of them for Clem almost out of juice already.
Clem pulls the boys, or the Bobs in this situation, and they will get to the front to tank a couple shots. They go down pretty quickly, though. And I mean, while he pushes Probe back, this does feel like a case of if Probe just keeps rallying over here, this is going to be a very one-sided affair eventually. I do not see, the thing is, I don't think Probe even needs to really fight in range of the turrets to kind of be able to take out, important parts of Clem's setup. So, yeah, it does not feel great for Clem. It feels like we're seeing a bit of a slow death here for our Frenchman, but again, some good experience in figuring out how some of these fights might work for future games as well, right? Players like Clem, very well known for being able to learn throughout the course of a series and pick up on things and be like, oh, okay, well, after this, he did like an Atlas transition, right? So, just figuring out how the later stages might be working out.
I really like the Atlas edition here from Probe. When you have the map control and you're the one that's really pushing into your opponent, going for a couple of Atlas to abuse these chokes, to abuse their own SimCity, it's fantastic. It's also going to get rid of the forest, actually, so fewer chokes for Clem to rely on. He's also away from the health camp that he was using over the left side, and yeah, it does feel like a matter of time, as you were saying.
That evac just able to move that Atlas around is wild. it is able to just get wherever it needs to be, get in range, and these shots are doing a lot of damage. As you can see, the Clem's numbers are just not going to hold up. GG! And Clem taps out. Probe takes game number 1, and is going to be another step closer towards potentially making it through this group. Maybe we even dare to say perfectly here. One more map against Clem. He'll be 4-8-0 with a laser left to play. Now, that is his toughest hurdle at the end of the day, but we're definitely getting there, ZG, where Probe has clearly come in and shown, like, hey, I've had the most time to play in practice and get into Stormgate recently, and it is absolutely starting to show.
He looks pretty dominant against everyone so far. I think the laser will be the true test. Clem, as I said, I think if he does do the exact same thing, has a good chance. I don't even know if it's a better chance, but I think he has a good chance of making us question Probe's ability to win, just because he is so good at micro and infantry handling, which even though they're very different infantry between the two games, I feel like they still have some common ground. But not feeling comfortable doing that makes a lot of sense. Because especially it being a top tier StarCraft 2 pro gamer, he knows how much not being able to slap that barracks down as fast as your opponent goes, or how much skipping in SCV production goes, and how much farther that puts you behind. So yeah, I'd love to see Clem try and do the same thing, but maybe he just gets out macroed at that point.
Yeah, absolutely is. We are going to go and that is a build on the ramp.
yeah, quite literally. That's it doesn't really work out foundation-wise. I'm pretty sure that's gonna crumble, but okay.
I imagine how it finishes build and it just falls apart through. It's like, well, what did you expect?
This is on you. This is user error. Apparently it kind of just sinks into the sand a little bit there, so that's all right. So this is clearly a scout here from got my colors confused. Scout here from Clem sees that Probe is actually opening up in an aggressive manner. So this is what Clem tried to do in the last game and just did not do well enough. Now it is Clem with a fast expand and Probe with a fast doggos. No, I was gonna say that the doggos didn't really seem to work out. So yeah, a Lancer coming across the map now.
Yep.
Oh, he's still not mining Therium. I could have. Yeah. I got it. I'm on top of it, guys.
You're good.
Thanks, man.
Been a long day. Not actually for us, but we we expected to start a couple hours earlier than we did, so we've been a long day.
It's true, actually. I was watching from the beginning. Good old jet lag.
Yeah, well, I didn't even have a jet lag excuse. So I was just the middle of the day for me. Probably what?
It's just Europe.
Yeah. Europe problems.
Yeah, well, here's the Lancer, and so obviously it takes on the dog, no problem. I love the repair, though, from Clem. Repair the dog, save the cheerleader, save the world. Not really. Dog's not that powerful.
No, dog just doesn't do that much damage here as Probe. Finally gonna meet Lancer on Lancer. It's so funny, these early fights, because it feels like the Lancers just do not take damage. Like, they are so tanky. But then, obviously, they're melee units, so while being nice and tanky, it's hard for them to really do much. There's so much of this running back and forth, which I guess adds to it as well. Like, they're tanky every hit they take, and then they don't take that many hits because we're running back and forth with melee units all the time. This makes this a fun little situation. You can see the dog of Clem takes 2 more shots. Another Lancer just showing up. Probe going to keep this pressure at the front while expanding behind it. Dog takes a couple shots here as we try and get the Lancer HP advantage for Clem. Trying to get a habitat up on this natural to try and help him out along the way with his defense while protecting his bobs in the process. One of these bobs going low. Not going to get targeted down just yet, but it's absolutely a possibility. Any shot now, there it is. Worth a kill finally coming through.
Yeah, but not quite enough to make up for the later expansion, right? Probe is still working on his... Oh, no, I think it just finished, actually. He is mining, never mind. Maybe not by as many bobs. Yeah, so there is still a slight lead for Clem. He didn't take his bobs off mining that often. Kind of correction, he has so many bobs off of the main. He transferred more, I guess.
Well, that vision camp is going to be knocked here as well. We've talked about this vision camp so much today here on Secluded Grove, where you just got the vision that really kind of leads up to that high ground, so you can see any movement left to right between the common natural and third base. So just taking that one early already. Isn't going to have too much of influence right now. You can see that Probe is also going to dart down to the bottom right, where he's already thinking about, okay, can I take some speed camps or resource camps? Just things that are going to let me take even more of an advantage because I've set up map control, I expanded a little bit later, so these are all the things I can get out of having expanded later.
Yeah, there's I think Pig already kind of discussed this idea, which is that if you are the defender and you get away with defending, you think, okay, I'm in a good position, right? But actually, if the other player is good, they have expanded, they have maybe chosen their resources a little bit wiser in terms of like only on one resource, the Luminite versus the Therium. And then they have the map control, which gives them resources, gives them vision, gives them speed, gives them health. So actually, even though Clem seemed to do a really great job defending, only losing one Bob, right? It doesn't really put him ahead. In fact, if I dare say so, I think he's still behind, if not by the actual game state, then just because Probe is going to naturally be the expected better player as the game goes on.
Yeah, this is, I feel almost worried that Clem doesn't get to do what he's been doing in all of his games, right? Which is where Clem gets to at least be the aggressor. It may not have worked out every time, but at least he got to be the kind of guy on the map and doing some things. Now he's not even going to have that, and I do get a little concerned, like, you know, how does he play a game where he's much more defensive? Because if he's not practiced like that at all, that can make things very awkward for him.
Well, he has gone back to his old ways. Hedgehog out and about, trying to get some scouting and harassment, but Probe actually went into quite a few dogs. He didn't do it first, but he did eventually go into them. It's going to give him further map control and the ability to tackle some of the non-Lancer units anyways. I'm actually not sure how quickly they kill a Hedgehog once they get surrounded. Yeah, pretty decently. Not quite a surround, though. Manages to oil up and skedaddle out of there, so the dogs will evacuate for now, but vision, map control, they can take down a couple of the level 1 camps for sure. And yeah, any surrounds and reinforcements. All things that Clem has to worry about. Probe has nothing to worry about on his side of the map.
No, it's complete freedom, as we have already a few dogs just kind of running by on the bottom side. Gonna catch a Bob on the way across here. He dives back into the Hedgehog as well. He gets the Hedgehog, and we've got more dogs showing up right now. These Lancers. How much of a surround do you need to kill these Lancers off? We're going to try and put them up against the wall. We do get a pretty decent position for Clem to defend. His Lancers will not be heavily surrounded, but it does give the dogs freedom to work elsewhere. And they're going to hide them in the trees for the moment, maybe trying to catch Clem off guard. That's not going to stick around, but maybe he'll just attack the natural because, well, so much of the army from Clem is off to the right-hand side, or just run by into the main.
I'm getting flashbacks to the very first iteration of Stormgate, honestly. The Mass Doggo is getting into the main. Overcharge Bobs are actually pretty freaking good, so that's not going to do as much damage as you might expect. But this is all delaying / denying. I think it's straight up denying Clem's third base. His Lancers are now on top of it, and no... Oh, Bob did get sent over there, so it is building, but Lancers are on top of it, so I'm not sure that is going to finish. Actually, the Doggos got us around on the Lancers. The Lancers are pretty tanky up against the wall. Clem is also trying to do some micros out of the map with Atlas drops, which are really fun, but maybe not super effective. Oh, well, if Probe isn't microing, then they are.
Yeah, you kind of need the bit of AFK that those Lancers might get a cancel on that third base. That would be huge. As you see, the evac is about to go down, by the way. Got to be careful not to lose that, because then the Atlas would be abandoned. Couple more shots. Clem just gets it out.
It was only doing so much anyway, right?
Yeah, I know, really sad that it left. I'm like, Clem, you've maybe got other things to focus on.
Yeah, it should probably go back anyway. And it doesn't kill individual units. Well, I guess it kills them fairly enough, but it's still such a big wind-up. It is absolutely an AoE unit once they hit the big clumped-up Exos, for instance, or Bobs that are all clumped up, and they didn't even get close. And then it was very evident that Clem's just not used to that micro. He didn't know exactly how long it took the Atlas to wind up and actually shoot before picking up, for instance.
Yeah. Things to just improve on, again, as experience is gained. As, you know, a lot of these things become kind of muscle memory as well, right? Like, oh, at this amount of time, I pick this back up, and that micro becomes second nature to you. And that all kind of builds into your skill set in an RTS because, you know, while certain skills obviously go from one RTS to the next, as the evac is going to get away, my goodness. As certain things go from one RTS to the next, the specifics and timings and so on, those are things you just need to learn with time. Anyway, that evac very nearly went down. So I'm going to harass over here. The Atlas comes through, but the Bobs come forward. I think we need a special name for overcharged bombs. Like Bills.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of another bomb name.
Just like another very like boring, like, you know, name. It's just like, well, instead of Bobs, that Teds. I don't know.
They're Bills. They're Teds. Oh, that would work if they were naturally named Bill. It was Bill and Ted, but Bob and Saget. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's no combination with Bob.
rip those couple units there from Probe as the Atlas drop continues to get some work done.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's able to focus entirely on it and get close to the actual Bob line, I think it absolutely has potential. And a Hornet shows up and it's like, ah! Reese is always so fast.
That's when the evac becomes the evacuator for sure, because you're just like, nuh-uh, don't want to stick around in this one, so we run away. Probe will get his vision just outside of his bases, which we've seen again. They definitely talked about a lot on this map. That position and that vision is so important to you to be able to take that straight away.
Clem trying to add in a couple of Atlas, you know, a Vulcan as well, coming in, trying to diversify the build, the composition, I should say. But I think a lot of people in chat and ladder will know the heartache that is thinking that higher technology might win you a game. In any RTS, actually, not just Stormgate. Because sometimes all you do need is a bigger mass of units, especially if that mass of units is also very microable, so the Atlas never get a very good shot. And yeah, I'm talking about this game here. I'm very concerned that Probe's army is still going to win out. The micro of Clem, though, is pretty freaking cool. And the fact that, okay, the jump on top for Probe, the Medtech's powering up some of the Exos is a bit surprising, but equally good micro, I guess really from both parties. That was just fast. That was blitzy.
Blink of the eye stuff as that battle started, ended, and all the rest very swiftly, as we are going to see that Atlas is going to force Probe back, and Clem may be able to kind of justify, continue to hold this location, going to use the Bobs in the middle, stop building, start repairing, get those Atlases back up to better HP.
I mean, the way that Clem was able to micro it, I liked it, right? Because Probe wanted to dive on top of the evac, but then that did clump up his Exos, so the Atlas, if it was properly controlled, could have gotten a really big shot. I mean, that is cool, but that is some real, like, half-second micro, isn't it? That was fast. Overall, Stormgate has lower lethality, but there are still a couple of moments where, yeah, Snipe can absolutely come down on the evac and just ruin Clem's whole plan of carrying around his Atlas, you know, pre-siege or both Atlas to save them, whatever he wants to do. And, well, okay, there's kind of case in point.
Yeah, this was not it. As we go diving forwards, looking for a couple extra kills. I believe a Hornet and a evac going down there. The evac empty as it had lost the Atlases prior. And Probe going to use this as a propellant across the map. He's going to be able to concave it up right here. That Vulcan may struggle to really get the spin up it's looking for. Lance is already in the backlines working on this Atlas. We are going to take a couple shots on the Exos, but they are moving forward as well. Is it enough DPS from Probe? He's still got some Lances up in front. The Medtechs are putting in the work to keep everything healthy, and Clem's numbers do not survive him at the front here, as it looks as though Probe continues through. All the Lances are going down. With those Lances dropping, the Exos do not stand their ground. GG is called. Probe is the victor 2-0 here over Clem in this best of 3. Probe stays undefeated map-wise at this point.
He's pretty freaking good. I mean, Clem also has some potential, but I absolutely believe since he is going to advance, he's got, you know, basically a day, right? To go ahead and study up on exactly what Probe did, basically steal the build orders down to the exact timings, and then I think he can showcase a lot of his micro. I mean, he was trying to showcase it there, and it was just so difficult to do when the evac can get sniped like it does. But then if you put in his hands, I guess, the best build order possible, the best composition possible, and then also get a little more familiar with the way the units interact. Obviously, Clem is going to be a god in Stormgate as he is in StarCraft 2.
Yep. No, I mean, he just needs to kind of figure the little things out, right? So much of this kind of comes down to the start as well, right? Where your openings are so important and how you set yourself up goes such a long way. And those are the things in which Clem is obviously not quite, you know, fully practiced just yet. You know, those are the things he can definitely work a lot better at and a lot better on. So definitely think that'll be a factor kind of moving forward. Yeah, excited to see. I mean, Clem, obviously, he's still through to tomorrow's games, right? He might not be in those top 2 seeds, which are locked up now by Probe and a laser fight for first place coming up, of course. But for Clem, I still think you look at this and say, hey, it was a successful day. I had some good moments. I had some cool moves. And, you know, with another day of practice, another night of, you know, playing around, getting some extra ideas, who know how good Clem could be in those playoffs tomorrow.
And I think it's a game that he thoroughly enjoys too. Like it fits his style so well that I honestly believe he's probably practicing right now.